First, let's read the question, and as we are reading the question, let's write down the probabilities that are given to us. So Mary is being tested for a rare disease. We're going to use the symbol D for disease. 1.5% of the population has the disease, which means that the probability that a randomly chosen person has the disease is equal to 1.5%, which is equal to 0.015. So that is 1.5% converted to decimals. Next, we are reading the third sentence here. First, a group of people who had the disease were tested. So what do we know about this group of people? That they had the disease and they were tested. So we know that they have the disease. And why is that important? Because when we say 99% tested positive, we are referring to this group of people who already have the disease. So the way we're going to write down the probability is this. Probability that a randomly chosen person in that group tested positive when we know that they have the disease is equal to 0.99. How do we know they have the disease? Because we are referring to a group of people who have the disease, and then the test was administered on these patients. So 99% of those people tested positive. So 99% is a conditional probability. It's the probability of showing positive within that group, which means given that they have the disease. The next sentence. Next, a group of people who did not have the disease were tested. So what do we know about this group? It is the probability of testing positive. It says 2% tested positive. But what do we know about this group of people? That they do not have the disease. Because we are referring to a group of people who did not have the disease that were tested. So that is equal to 0.02. That's a 2%. So next, so these are the probabilities that are given. Now let's go back to each probability and see if we can say a little more. Maybe write down one more probability. So we have probability of disease is 0.015. The opposite of that is probability of no disease, which is equal to 1 minus 0.015. So that would be equal to 0.985. So that would be the probability that a randomly chosen person in that population does not have the disease. Now, it was given to us that probability of positive given disease is 0.99. Now, what is the opposite or the negation of that event? It's the probability of testing the opposite, which is negative. And of course, within that group of people who have the disease. So there would be 1 minus 0.99, which is 0.01. Next, we have probability of positive given no disease. What is the opposite of that? It is, or the negation of that event is probability of, the opposite of positive is negative, given that a person does not have the disease. So this would be 1 minus 0.02, which is equal to 0.98. So in any of these problems where we eventually apply the Bayes theorem, We are given these 6 probabilities. We just have to look for what's given. And then, of course, we're given at least 3 of these probabilities, and we can figure out the other 3 by taking the opposite events.